Morning guys, this video is all about barn owls, so hopefully probably all the facts you're ever going to need about barn owls, and they are absolutely beautiful birds, one of my favourite birds of prey. And hopefully this video will be interesting regardless of whether you're a photographer or not. So it's loads of facts about the habitat barn owls like to live and hunt in, about their breeding behaviour, about their life cycles. But also, if you're a photographer, the more you know about a certain subject, the more success you're going to have when it comes to photographing that subject. So in this video, we're not talking about photographic techniques. This is all about the behaviour and the lifestyle of barn owls. So I really hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to telling you about one of my favourite birds of prey, the barn owl. Generally, the time we're going to be out photographing barn owls is early morning or late evening, so around dusk, either dawn or dusk, and that means we've got the problem of low light. So it's very important to make sure the ISO number on the camera is high enough to ensure a shutter speed that's fast enough to freeze the motion of a bird in flight. Now, if you're photographing a barn owl and it's on a perch, then we'll probably get away with a 500th of a second as long as you've got steady hands and image stabilisation. If we're doing a barn owl in flight, if it's quartering a field, they don't fly that fast. So it means we can probably get away with a 1,000th of a second without any real danger of subject movement or camera shake. So picking the right ISO number is really important when we're taking pictures of barn owls in low light conditions. And I would have the camera on continuous focusing if I'm doing a flight shot, and I may have it on single AF if I'm doing it if I'm photographing a barn owl on a perch, and that way I can focus bang on the eye. If I've got bird eye detect on a camera, then I'll pick bird eye detect because that will pick out the eye of the bird, or if it's slightly distant it will pick out the head of the bird. So you know, the camera settings when we're photographing barn owls are really important because we're at an extreme really, aren't we? We're photographing a moving animal in low light conditions. I think barn owls are really beautiful birds. They're probably one of my favourite birds of prey. They've got brown wings and backs, the white underparts and a white face, and they've got that heart-shaped face. They're not particularly big birds. They weigh about 250 to 350 grams. Their wingspan's about 80 to 95 centimetres, and they're about, I don't know, 33 to 39 centimetres long, so I'd say a medium-sized bird of prey really. There are about 4,000 pairs of barn owls in the UK. During the 20th century their numbers did drop, and I think that was mainly due to habitat loss and also loss of nesting places, because they like to nest in barns, that's why they're called barn owls, but they will nest in holes in trees, and they will also nest in purpose-built nesting boxes. So their numbers have stabilised, and if they have a good breeding year, it's normally because there's lots of prey items, and they like to eat things like voles, rodents and other birds. If we're looking to watch barn owls or photograph barn owls, the best habitat to look for them is rough grassland. So we're looking for sort of the edges of field where the grass is quite long, hay meadows, mixed habitats of rough pasture, moorland areas. So they're the sort of ditches where the grass has grown up quite high. So if we can find the ideal hunting areas for barn owls, that gives us our best chance to find these creatures. And as I say, they'll hunt for voles, field mice and any other small rodents they can get their claws on. When it comes to photographing barn owls, I don't generally take any camo with me. I'll wear obviously camouflaged trousers and a dark or a dark green coat, but I don't bring a pop-up hide. What I tend to do is find an area where there's some hedgerows or some bushes or some trees, and I'll just pop myself in those trees, so I'm not breaking the horizon and I'm sort of out the way. And generally, if the barn owl's hunting and it comes towards you, as long as you're really still, you don't generally need a lot of extra camouflage in terms of hides, either pop-up hides or I've got a poncho that I stick over my head sometimes, which is also camouflage. But I've found I've got really successful barn owl pictures by just standing still and tucking myself right to the edges or the margins of a field or a hedgerow. Barn owls are absolutely fantastic hunters. They normally hunt using their hearing, and their ears are placed unevenly on their heads, and that means they can work out where the prey is coming from without actually turning their heads. And they've learnt to recognise different sounds. So a barn owl can tell whether one of the prey items is running around, it's eating, or it's stationary just by the sound it makes. And so they're incredibly good hunters. They generally hunt at night, so they're nocturnal, but I photographed them towards the end of the day at twilight, and you are likely to see them first thing in the morning as well, so around the edges of the day, especially in the summer when they've got chicks. And I got my best photographs at about an hour before sunset in the summer of a barn owl quartering a field, and it came so close. It was just such a fantastic experience. Alongside their fantastic hearing, barn owls also have brilliant eyesight, and I've watched barn owls hover just a few feet away from me, looking down at the ground, listening, and then they just dive down and right into the rough grass, and often they'll come up with a vole or a field mouse or some other rodent. So they're very successful hunters, but not every hunt will be a success, and it's a case of persistence as well. The main prey items for barn owls are voles. About 60% of their diet are voles, but they will eat other rodents and small birds. And when they eat their prey, they eat it whole, which means that all the undigested bits of that animal, such as the skin and the bones, they have to be brought up in a pellet. And when you're looking for barn owls, if you can spot pellets in an area, that's a really good indication that a barn owl might be using that area as a perch. So it's one of those sort of behavioural things that barn owls do that help us to maybe find the species to photograph. Generally, barn owls mate for life, and in most cases they'll have a single partner, although very occasionally a male barn owl might have two females, and during the breeding season he will bring food to both of those females. But in general, it's a male and a female pairing, and they normally mate for life. Now, the female lays something like 4 to 7 eggs, and they're white eggs. And it's really interesting actually, because they don't lay all the eggs at the same time. They're staggered. They'll lay the first egg, then they'll lay the next egg a few days later, then the next egg. And what this means is, obviously the chicks hatch out at different times. And this is a really good survival strategy, because when food is scarce, so vole numbers are not as high as they are in some other years, it means that the first chick is going to be the biggest and the strongest, and if food is scarce, he will get most of the food, and that will ensure at least one of the chicks will survive. I've actually seen on some sort of nature programs, not personally, if food is really, really tight, the biggest, strongest chick may well eat the other chicks, so it can be a bit sort of gruesome, but it does ensure the survival of one chick. In order for a male to attract a female in the first place, there's lots of courting flights that they perform, and one of them is called mothing, and that's where the male barn owl hovers in front of the female with its legs dangling. Now, I've never seen that actually, but I should imagine it's quite a good wildlife spectacle to watch. Female barn owls are normally more colourful than the male barn owls, and I think an interesting fact is it's thought that the females that have got more spots on their sort of plumage are healthier than the ones that have less spots, which are one of those interesting facts, I think. This video is mainly about the lifestyle and the behaviour of barn owls, so it's a natural history video really. But I also think it's useful if you're a photographer. Not only is it good to know more about the animals we're photographing, but if we know more about those animals, we're going to be more successful in finding and photographing them. So I think it's useful for both of those reasons. And one of the things I think is very important is barn owls, when they hunt, they use mainly hearing, but they will also use sight. And secondly, they're not that waterproof either. Their feathers are not that waterproof. So when it's really windy and really rainy, it's very hard for the barn owls to go out hunting. So if you want to find a hunting barn owl, the best time to start looking is after 2 or 3 days of really bad weather, which means it's much more likely for the barn owl to be out and about, quartering the fields, looking for prey. So again, the more you know about the animal, the easier it is to find that animal and photograph it. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I say, I love barn owls, they're fantastic birds of prey, and if you did enjoy it and you haven't already subscribed to my channel, if you can consider subscribing, that'll be great. And if you do subscribe, press the little bell icon and hopefully you'll be notified when my next video is uploaded. And if you have liked it, if you can get a thumbs up, a like, that really helps my channel. And then last but not least, if you've got any comments about wildlife photography or wildlife in general, or about barn owls, drop them in the comments section below. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you on my next video. So bye for now, guys.